In 1992, Land Rover carried out a risk analysis assessment on single-ply roofing membranes. Since then, over 60,000 square metres of Alkoflex have been laid on Land Rover roofs. The quality of the product and the technical support before, during and after contract have convinced us that our initial judgment was correct. That is why we are specifying Alkoflex on the current 20,000 square metre Land Rover re-roofing programme.
The roof over the laundry at Lee Castle Centre was the first Alcor roof installed in the UK. It was laid in 1982 using the Alkorflex membrane. Since then, the roof has remained completely waterproof and the Alkorflex has required no repairs, despite 16 years of exhaust directed onto the membrane.
The Renalit single-ply roofing systems are designed, manufactured and guaranteed to be reliable, robust and long-lasting. Renalit AG is an international leader in the manufacture of high-quality thermoplastic films and products. This independent family-run business, which has been setting benchmarks for quality and innovation for 60 years, now employs a workforce of approximately 4,000 employees at its 31 production sites and sales companies. The installation principles are the same, whether the roof is a 36,000 square metre paint shop roof at Land Rover, a 6,000 square metre supermarket, or the refurbishment of an 18 square metre garage. The standard system is metal deck, vapour control layer, insulation and mechanically fastened membrane. Adhered and ballasted systems are also employed on a variety of substrates. Here, the mechanically fastened system can be seen on a Sainsbury's store at Brentwood. Since 1990, more than 250 supermarkets have been roofed in Alkorplan. On the garage refurbishment, new insulation is to be laid over existing boards and vapour control layer. The boards are brake bonded and fixed through to the substrate. It's good practice to have the dew point calculated by means of a condensation risk analysis. Most insulation manufacturers will carry out this calculation to ensure the correct type and thickness of insulation is used. The contractor will only fix the quantity of insulation that can be waterproofed within the working period. Unprotected insulation must not be left to absorb moisture at the end of the day. Once the insulation has been laid, the Alkor metal edge details are fixed. Alkor metal consists of galvanized steel sheet, laminated to a layer of membrane. The metal sheets are cut and bent to the required shape prior to being brought to the site by the approved contractor. Alkor metal sections are used for the upstands, rain checks and drip edges located around the perimeter of the roof and are fixed into position using self-tapping screws at 150 mm centres. The same process is used for parapets, plant bases and roof light curbs. An expansion gap of 5 mm must be left between adjoining sheets of metal. The gap is covered with aluband tape to create a 50 mm unwelded area, and the joint is waterproofed by a 200 mm wide junction strip of unreinforced Alkorplan, which is welded into position using hot air prior to the laying of the main roofing sheet. When mechanically fastened systems are laid over metal deck substrates, the rolls of membrane are laid at 90 degrees to the deck direction. Where the substrate is continuous, for example a timber deck, the direction of the roof sheets is not critical. It's quite common for sheet overlaps to face the flow of water, as the laps are not glued but homogeneously welded together to produce an impervious seam. The edge of the roofing sheet is marked with two parallel lines. The first, 30 mm from the edge, is the center line for the fixing plates and screws. A wind loading calculation is carried out for every roof, whether mechanically fixed or bonded, to determine the number of fasteners per square meter or weight of adhesive required by the code of practice. The calculation will depend on the location of the building, its shape and dimensions, and the surrounding topography. When the first sheet has been laid out and fastened, the adjoining sheet is laid out overlapping the first and is lined up with the second parallel line. The second sheet of Alkorplan provides an overlap of 100 mm, which covers and waterproofs the row of fasteners. The two sheets are either solvent or hot air welded together. The weld width should not be less than 40 mm. This process is then repeated across the whole roof area. After the welds have been made, it's essential to test their integrity by drawing an engineer's scribe along the length of the seams. Any areas that require attention are completed with the hot air gun. Once checked, the seams are sealed with liquid PVC. It's important that this is completed before the surface of the sheet has become contaminated or dusty. At the perimeter, the membrane is trimmed using a sharp knife and straight edge to give a minimum overlap of 40 mm. This is welded to the Alkor metal edge detail using the same method as that to seal the laps. Upstands are waterproofed by Alkor metal section, bent to shape, being fixed to the substrate and wall. They are then led up under the parapet or lead flashing and sealed. Internal and external corners are finished off with pre-formed sections being welded to form a complete seal. Rainwater outlets are installed as work progresses. To ensure the outlet does not sit higher than the membrane, the insulation is recessed. The membrane is laid over the outlet and the aperture cut out after fixing. Both Alkorplan and Alkorflex can be welded to outlets manufactured from unplasticized PVC. Where other materials are installed, a clamping ring must be used to secure the membrane to the fitting. The roofing sheet is welded directly to the outlet, or in the case of fleece-backed sheet, a collar of unbacked membrane is welded to the roofing sheet and outlet. Pipe penetrations are waterproofed by welding a collar of membrane to the UPVC pipe. A hole is cut in the center, half the diameter of the pipe. It's warmed and stretched over the sleeve and welded to the pipe and the roof sheet. The joint is completely sealed with liquid PVC. In instances where a metal pipe is used, a sleeve of membrane is welded around the pipe base before applying the collar. Roof access has to be catered for, and in areas that are regularly used, a clearly defined path is necessary. This is achieved with the incorporation of Alkorplan walkway, which provides a slip-resistant surface for maintenance personnel. Particular areas may be subject to heavy traffic, where the insulation could be compressed, causing a reduction in thermal performance. These areas are protected by a series of steel sheets wrapped in 180 GSM fleece fixed to the substrate under the roofing sheet. The cream color clearly identifies the limits of the walkway. The standard method of attaching lightning conductor retaining clips is to hot air or solvent weld a sacrificial disc of membrane to the roofing sheet. The lightning conductor pad is then welded or adhered to the sacrificial disc. There are Alcor Plus accessories and systems for all extraneous roof features, such as roof lights, satellite dishes, and freestanding plant. Advice and assistance is readily available from the product manual and the technical department. The Alcor Plan A bonded system uses a fleece-backed membrane to provide a quick, clean method of applying single-ply roofing membrane onto substrates where mechanically fastened or ballasted systems are impractical. It's particularly suited to the refurbishment of old roofs, as it may be laid directly onto existing bitumen. The first job is to ensure that the roof is clean and to cut open and seal bubbles and blisters in the old bitumen. Then the 2-meter wide membrane is rolled out and aligned and then rolled back onto half its length. The glue used in the system is based on low-solvent polyurethane, and the flow necessary to meet the requirements of the wind load calculation is controlled by the number of holes made in each can, up to a maximum glue loading of 300 grams per square meter. This system will cope with wind uplift of up to 3,600 newtons per square meter. The adhesive is laid onto the roof either from a single can or from 5 cans mounted on a trolley. The adhesive is then squeegeed across the substrate to produce a full bond. Alcor Plus 81068 adhesive can be laid onto damp insulation, as it's activated by moisture. An open time of 10 to 15 minutes is required for the adhesive to cure, after which half of the roll of membrane is laid into the glue. This process is then repeated for the other half of the material, and subsequent rolls are laid with an 80mm overlap to allow the seams to be heat or solvent welded, thus creating a watertight seal. The material is manufactured with a 50mm fleece-free selve edge to facilitate the fabrication of the 40mm weld on the overlap. Alcor metal edge details are put into position after roof sheets are installed. They are fixed and jointed in exactly the same way as the mechanically fastened system, as are upstands, penetrations, and deck fittings. Once the deck is completed, pressure is applied to the entire roof by means of a water-filled roller. Alcor Plan A can also be installed using the Interstick pressurized adhesive system, details of which can be obtained from the Renalit technical department. The Alcor Plan A bonded system produces an efficient, watertight roof which can often be laid more quickly than a mechanically fastened system. An accessory that allows the architect to extend the scope of a single-ply roof is the Alcor Plan Profile system. It comprises Alcor Plan membrane and an extruded profile designed to simulate the detail on a lead roll or standing seam roof. Once the roof sheet has been installed, the profile is heat welded into place, according to the architect's requirements. The initial appeal is aesthetic, but the system also provides a design feature with a significant saving over the cost of the traditional system, both in the materials used and the weight of the supporting structure. It's stocked in 2 sizes and in lead grey, charcoal, copper green, and terracotta. In recent years, Renalit has developed the Alcor Green system for the waterproofing of intensive and extensive garden roofs. The Alcor Plan Profile and Alcor Green systems complement the widest range of roofing membranes available. Alcor Plan roofing sheet is produced as unreinforced and reinforced membranes available in 5 standard colors. The Alcor Flex CPE range is specified where enhanced chemical or fire resistance is demanded. Worldwide, Renalit membranes protect over 100 million square meters of roof, from Arctic snow to desert storms. 5 million square meters of it are coping with the ravages of the British and Irish climates. There are currently 300 million square meters of Renalit waterproofing membrane protecting roofs, swimming pools, canals, tunnels, lakes, reservoirs, and ponds.